What up, what up, what up, what is happening, good people? Welcome to this live edition of Herb and Two, alongside the great Tucson Warner. My name is Herb Howard. This is where we get together and talk about issues currently impacting the black community. We talk about how those issues impact us individually and also how they impact us as a collective. And along with your help, we talk through these issues in hopes of finding the optimum solutions for how we can overcome said issues. Again, overcome them individually, but perhaps more importantly, at least for the sake of this conversation, overcome them as a collective. Thank you so very, very much for choosing to be a part of this conversation. As always, your input is valued. It is certainly appreciated. Anything you want to add to the conversation, feel free to do so. We will read through as many of your comments as possible while we go through the show. We would kindly request that you please take a quick second to share the broadcast on your personal page and your personal network. Share with anybody that you think would add value to or find value in this particular conversation. Again, this is Herb and Two. It is intellectual thuggery at its absolute finest. My name is Herb. His name is Two. Two. What's happening, good brother?
What's up, family? I'm blessed and highly favored. Man, I was with your ass way more than I usually like to be with your ass on the weekend, man.
That's crazy right there, fam.
Well, that's crazy. I see you there.
That's fucked up. I don't even feel that way about you.
Hell well.
I was like, I'm with you. I wasn't. It was, though. And then, even on Sunday, you know, I'm out Cinco de Mayoing. Shout out to Taylor's Tacos. So I slid through. They was at Promontory. Promontory had an event.
Okay.
And Taylor Tacos was one of the taco vendors that was there. So I'm, up there fucking around with Taylor, and people bringing you up, and I'm like, I don't. Why do y'all do this? Like, why do y'all do this? You see me, it's like, hey, where's Two? And I'm like, I don't know. And then the woman who brought you up said, he said the same thing when I saw him. And I was like, yo, where's Herb? And he was like, he ain't attached to my hip. I'm like, we're not. Like, it's like, but it's called Herb and Two. The show is called Herb and Two. Our names are not synced as Herb and Two.
Synonymous. Yeah, but it's a good thing, man.
It is cool.
We got a certain level of chemistry and the people was rocking. I was in Dunkin' Donuts the other day too, man. Some random dude was like, man, I love the show.
That's what's up.
Hey, salute, man.
No, that's cool. A woman named Rashida. She's actually said she was cool with you. So I never really know you like that. She's like, I've seen you, but you always forget every time I see you that you've seen me before. And so she's like, today I wasn't even gonna speak, but she was talking to Taylor. She was like, every time I see you, you be like, oh, nice to meet you. I'd be like, we've met before. And I'm like, oh shit.
Okay, well, salute to whoever that is.
Yeah, her name Rashida. She's an educator. She said, y'all cool, but whatever. Anyway.
I guess we are. We do. I must know.
Yep. You gotta relax, man. You really
I do. You know what I'm saying? Salute, man.
You gotta relax. I went to after that I went to Red Pepper and continued. Well, we wasn't Cinco de Mayo over there. We was just Red Peppering over there. But no, we actually was. But happened again. But I'm always there. So anyhow.
Salute though. Salute to Sadiq too. We went to eat at Sadiq's house. I gotta show you something when we get out there.
Yeah.
You're gonna get a kick out of this.
Yeah.
But either way though, Sadiq, we started our journey.
Larry B. Ryan, what up? Ma, what's going on?
Yeah, we started our journey on our plant-based fitness journey. So Sadiq cooked for us the other night, man. Mm-hmm. My hand to God, G. Sadiq is the best chef in the planet.
What?
His partner.
Mm-hmm. And his partner. But we had tacos, brother, and the meat was made out of wheat, and I couldn't stop myself, G. I couldn't stop eating. It was like
fire.
I couldn't stop eating, G. It was so official.
So official. We had these, steak tacos from the wheat. But even before that, like the appetizers was fire. This was like a 5-course meal that they put together. It was amazing. The chips and dip was fire. It was like chips with vegan cheese and salsa. The chip itself was different and amazing. The cheese was like
fire.
Like yeah.
It was fire.
It was fire.
The whole meal was fire.
Whole thing was fire.
Fire conversation, good people,
Veggie
good
trays,
food.
yeah, good ambiance. It was dope, man. We had a great time. It went from 7:30 to about 1:30 a.m. of just chilling and vibing and eating and conversation.
And I surely had other responsibilities I just abandoned.
Yeah, you said since like 10 o'clock, you was like, I'm gonna go at 10. I was like, all right, cool.
Sound like
it's 1:30 in the morning.
I should have been in the mix.
Nah, for sure, man.
It was
a vibe. It was some high level conversation, some deep stuff. Trying to educate too it's like
it's a thing.
We just talking about how often I reference The Wire. There's a line in The Wire when Prop Joe is trying to bring Marlo along, and Marlo walked out and he looked at Slim like, it's hard as hell trying to civilize this motherfucker. Like, That's you.
Hey, man, I'm flawed, but it got me this far.
I said what I said.
Yeah. Patar, what's good? Gardis, what's happening? Got a chance to see Gardis this weekend also because we went out in support of our brother on Tuesday. Marquin McDonald announced that he is running for CPS school board.
For the 10th district.
For the 10th district. So he made that announcement out in front of Rainbow Push on Saturday afternoon. So a bunch of us was over there. Got to see the good brother Gardis out there. Shout out to Q, man. I'm ignorant of the CPS board election process, but whatever we can do, we will do, and encourage y'all to do the same.
Well,
thing.
what we can do, man, is that they're getting signatures right now, right? So, interestingly enough, you need 1,000 signatures to get on the ballot.
Okay.
Which really means you need 3,000 signatures.
Right.
Right.
Why?
Because they're gonna throw out
Eliminate
a bunch of
it.
them.
Okay.
Right? It's a strategy that politicians use to get people
Strike
that
that.
don't want on the
That's not
ballot
real.
off the ballot,
Yeah.
right? So you essentially need 3,000. But what's interesting is that that's twice as many as you need to be an alderman. I thought that was very interesting, right? When you think about the resources that come through the CPS board and where that conversation started in the city, like they wanted to make it applicable for parents, and you could be 18 and make it on that board.
Yeah.
That's the legislation, right?
Yeah.
But they increased the signatures because they know that's one of the strategies to keep people out.
It's the barrier.
So on one hand, they're saying this legislation is to create access to parents, but in reality, here's the little nuances we're gonna do to keep it out of your hands, right?
Dig it.
So in that vein, if you're around in the 10th district, if you know what the 10th district is, you see people collecting signatures. I think it's like 8 different candidates, but for sure, make sure you find Marquin McDonald's people, sign them petitions so we can get the brother on the ballot, man.
Go to his page. Go to his Facebook page or his Instagram page.
We're gonna get him on here and get all this.
Yeah, we're gonna do
we
all
got to
that.
have websites and all that type of stuff.
Yeah, we're gonna do all that, as the process, continues. But shout out to Q, man. We rock with you, my brother. Algenoy is in the building.
What's happening, man? I'm here.
Good
brother, man.
Finally here, man.
The good brother.
What's good, man?
Blessed, man. Excited, man. I've always had a high level of respect for both of you brothers, man.
It is mutual, man.
Watching the
Mutual.
show, man. Watching you all give your solid, strong opinions. And
Yeah,
I'm
man.
I would love to.
Some of his
sit-
opinions
sit-
be flawed as shit, but you can tell the truth.
I love when we get into
Nonetheless,
debate.
though.
You can tell the truth.
Like, the show is
They
cool.
be thinking we be debating. I don't think we be debating.
The show is
Teach hands down.
The show is cool when we
teach, I be
be
teaching.
aligned and in agreement and cracking jokes. That'd be fun. But when we start debating, that's not really like I just dog walk his ass around the room. Like,
That's
look to
never
it.
happened.
This is where you need to be. Go over, sit there. You know what I mean?
That's never
we
happened.
need an official scorecard one day. You know what I'm saying?
It'll
y'all
be
go head-to-head matchup.
If y'all lose one
Clean
more,
as
it's
clean, clean
it's
as you
6
mean.
to 24. You know what the fuck you talking about? Word to King Von,
How'd
I'm
you get
smoking
6?
you.
You ain't never got 6.
Word to King Von, I'm smoking you. If y'all lose one more, it's 6 to 24. Man. Fuck is wrong with you?
Well, I'm here today, man. So hopefully I may have a few opinions myself.
Nah, man, you always
what.
got strong, intelligent, informed opinions, man.
Appreciate you.
Man, let's get right into it, though, right?
let's do
You
it,
just
let's
got back from Africa.
I did, yeah. Just got back from Ghana, man. Went over there with a group from Malcolm X. They led it up, and we took 11 students, 8 students from Perspectives High School. We took a few students from Malcolm X College, with the intent to basically reconnect students. Really a trip on identity. You know what I mean? So we went to Accra. We went to the Central Region. We went to Kumasi. We saw several of the slave castles, had the opportunity to go to the River of No Return,
Oh, yeah.
bathe in that, went to Kwame Nkrumah's museum. We was all over the place, man, having a lot of great conversations. But more importantly, showing our students that there's more to just the west side or just the south side of Chicago, right? So when you take ourselves, or when you take students across the world gets a little smaller.
Yeah.
So hopefully their next trip is going to be a lot easier because they can see themselves taking that trip, a lot easier. So, man, it was a dynamic trip, I would say.
That's phenomenal, brother.
Absolutely, man.
Just the process of it, right? Just like you said, just having done something once makes it a lot easier to do it again. I don't even just mean like going, to the continent. I mean just like going to the airport. You know what I mean? And just
Going
understanding going downtown.
Going downtown, yeah, 100%.
Understanding that process of, what this looks like. This is how you come to the airport. 'Cause conceptually, unless you've done this, like, you kind of think but it's like, I don't really know. I wouldn't know how to go through this fucking process. You know what I mean? So that in and of itself is extremely valuable. I mean, once you get to, somebody like, when we travel so much, you don't think about it. But before you have, it's like, how do you do it? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I rock with that, G. I think exposure is so important in just every facet of life, right? But I got challenged a little bit on the perspective, right? So salute to you, salute to Malcolm X, salute to, I know Kim and Kenyon is over there doing a lot of stuff with Malcolm X. I think they're presidents over there, some like deans of certain colleges. But the conversation that I fully appreciate taking kids to Africa, right? That's a journey I want to go on to, right? For sure. The identity conversation, though, specifically rooted in the concept of Malcolm X being what Malcolm X is, the kids from Chicago being who they are, what Perspectives represents. We was having this conversation a little bit off air, right? I struggle with the identity conversation and our unique desire to be so connected to the continent, right?
Okay.
I damn near argue that in a lot of ways, that trip might have been as valuable, I don't want to say more valuable, as valuable, going to Mississippi.
Let me say this. I don't disagree with you. This is where I come from. I think that there's more, my father used to say there's more than one way to skin a cat. I don't think we have to all go for the same pathway, right? But I think just the idea of thinking and becoming a critical thinker and seeing yourself as more than whatever the media wants to portray you as. I think that pathway can be done by traveling through Mississippi, by seeing our ancestors through that pathway. You can go to Ghana, you can go really anywhere. I think the process and the journey is the most valuable part. You know what I'm saying? Seeing yourself as bigger than my block or just the things that they've told me I am on my block. So I agree with you. Traveling to Mississippi, there's a lot of rich information that you can get just traveling to Mississippi. There's a heritage and a culture that you can get just traveling to Mississippi. But I wouldn't take away from, not saying that you are, but taking away from the idea of the need to travel beyond the states as well.
Good brother Gardy say, you sound like Nas. They see a Nas fan, beautiful. He definitely hip hop.
Yeah, I've been getting this back
for sure. Even when I first mentioned you, like shit downtown.
Yeah,
like 100% true. I'm from OVs. You know what I'm saying? From where I grew up, you can be downtown in 5-10 minutes. It's a straight shot up the lake, right? But when I was growing up, most of my homies like, nah, I ain't never been down there. Like, why am I gonna go down there? Like there was that mentality. Like why would I go down there? It's like, bro, just go. Then you'll know why you go down there. You know what I'm saying?
Real talk. When I remember my mother used to take me there when we were young. Like rarely. It would be like a family trip. We went to the movie theater, and I used to feel real uncomfortable because I'm thinking like, do I even know how to talk when I'm here? Do I know how to be myself in these spaces? Right. So I think that's important. To travel and then see who am I relative to these spaces, and do I have enough confidence to even be myself? Do I know myself? It can kind of start that dialogue when you start to travel. You know what I mean?
I agree 100%, man. We some kids from Northwestern did a documentary on us a few years ago, and they had I didn't even know Northwestern had a campus downtown, but they had two showings. They had one at the campus way up north, then they had one at the campus downtown. Okay. One of the main characters of the documentary they did on us was a kid we was engaged in who had got shot during the process of them filming, right? So that was the whole experience for them. One, it pointed out how fucking jaded we are too, right? Because he got shot and they was all up in arms. Like one of the students who was doing the film was legitimately from China. One was from Alabama, the other one was from Georgia, right? But they all Northwestern students. So there was a point in the filming where my little man got shot. And they was calling me like, man, Munchie okay? It got to a point where I was like, man, leave me alone. He just got shot. And I had to catch
niggas get shot every day, B.
Niggas get shot every day, B. You know what I mean?
Desensitized, you know what I'm saying?
But I was so desensitized, it bothered me that I started to respond like that, right? But he became a main character in the documentary, right? So first time they aired it at the Northwestern campus, I really wanted him to see that because I knew that would be life-changing, right? Sure. But he was in the hospital still. But they ended up showing it later again at the downtown campus, which I didn't know existed, right?
So it's connected to the university. To the hospital.
I just didn't think of it like that. You know what I mean? But it was still extravagant, nice joint, everything. So he out the hospital, so I grab him. Like, come on, man, we're gonna go watch this film that you the fucking star of. You know what I mean? So I'm navigating Lower Wacker, bro. This ain't no little boy. Munchie was probably 23 at the time.
Right.
I'm in Lower Wacker, G, and the brother said, we still in Chicago? This brother from 79th Street, bro. You 7 miles from downtown, and you asked me, was we still in Chicago?
Wire quote loading. Bodie asked McNulty, was they still in Baltimore? He like, yeah, Pimlico right up the hill, bro. He like, oh. You know what I'm saying?
But that's perspective like a motherfucker.
My son he's now 11, and he used to say things like that when we were younger. Like when he was younger, we'd go downtown, he'd be like, am I still in Chicago? Go to the suburb, is this Chicago? Because when you haven't been somewhere, the only thing you know is what you know. You know what I'm saying? So, but by traveling, it makes Chicago, every time he travels, it makes Chicago much smaller.
Yeah.
And he builds more confidence that he can navigate without me at some point.
I've said a lot on this show that until I went to high school, Earth for me was 67th, 79th, Stony to the water.
Yeah.
That was Earth.
Yeah.
I went outside of it for very few reasons. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, you know, then I got to high school and I got more exposure. And really probably a little bit before that, as my brother's basketball acclaim got larger and just following him around to different tournaments and shit like that. But
Right.
other than that, that was the whole world to me. You know what I mean? If it ain't inside 67th, 79th, Stony to the water, I don't know it. You know what I'm saying? And exposure is key because you can live your whole life like that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It's something I'm thinking about even just right now in the moment, right? So initially I grew up in an area called K-Town on the west side of Chicago. So, you know, it was the Souls and, you know, what was over there.
Yeah.
And that area seemed like it was so small and I could survive with the same dialect that I had over there, right? Then I moved to a little village,
Right.
not that far away.
No.
Whole different world.
Completely different world, right? So in order for me to navigate there, I had to develop a whole new skill
Adapt
set,
to, yep.
a whole new skill set.
And boy, you had a hell of experience.
Yeah.
Just in that two places. K-Town and Little Village.
But then I moved right after that. Then I moved to 56 in Loomis. And I spoke with a slight accent, so they thought I was from Africa, thought I was from Jamaica. They ain't know where they thought I was from. And I had to learn a whole new skill set. And then I went to Kenwood, I had to learn a whole new skill set. Then I moved to the Hundreds. So when you move around, you expand, you have an opportunity to expand your consciousness and your skill set to be able to move.
It's challenging though.
Yeah.
And it's initially uncomfortable.
Oh, hell yeah.
And people don't like to stretch like that. People don't like to be stretched beyond their comfort zone in a way, even though it's gonna grow you, right?
Yeah.
You don't like it initially. It's so uncomfortable that you won't do it.
I want to
That's why-
retreat.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
You want to retreat. You want to shrink a little bit. It's like, no, I don't need to expand. I'll just shrink.
Yeah.
But that's why we see them little things where it'd be like, it'll put up pictures of like 4 different people, random people. And they be like, that's East Side, that's South Side, that's West Side. You know what I'm saying? Like, or New York, like that's a Brooklyn nigga, that's a Harlem nigga. You know what I mean? Like all that kind of stuff. And you'd be like, damn.
But to the point of traveling specifically to the mother continent, right?
Yeah,
Is for us, it's bigger than just exposure.
for sure.
You know what I mean? I look at that as like a spiritual kind of thing.
It
you know what I
was.
mean? And all of the accounts that I've ever heard was like, man, when I got to this space, and I haven't been to the motherland yet. I'm going soon. You know what I mean?
Wow. Okay, yeah.
But
This is my first time too, so people will
Yeah,
be shocked.
so it's a
I'm
goal of
shocked to
mine.
hear that, Rick, to be honest with you.
no, it's a goal. I've been to a bunch
Yeah.
of different countries,
I know,
right?
I know, yeah.
I just, you know, I'm getting
Same thing for me,
right?
my
But
first
also, most of my travel like that,
I've
I've
yet
had
to
somebody
go.
else pay for it. You know what I mean? For some other reason. You know
That
what I
part.
mean? But either way, my point in saying that is all of the accounts of it is like, man, I had this kind of spiritual this movement happened when I touched this, or you know, when I went to the castles, or when I touched this water, or when I went to this land, or you know, whatever these landmarks are. So you could feel the energy of this, and you could feel the energy of that. We was having this conversation off air, and I was like, man, I went to Mississippi. I thought I had been to Mississippi. Like I've traveled through the South as a young man, so in my mind, like it's all the same shit. In my mind, when I was going to Mississippi, I was like, I've been to Mississippi before, I think.
Yeah.
I touched the land, bro, and I realized, no, I ain't been to Mississippi. And what I would assume that same kind of spiritual awakening is, I felt that shit, G.
For sure.
Like you could feel the energy of slavery when I was down there. Like you could feel that shit, right?
Yeah.
And maybe it's just my own in tuneness. Maybe it's my own understanding of our history.
Yeah.
But I legitimately had that moment, like, and we was in the land too. It wasn't like we just traveling through the cities of Jackson. Like we got to be some of them country spaces, actually in the land.
Yeah.
You know, we dirt biking and shit like that, and for certain reasons. So I was like, oh no, you feel the spirit of our history there. You know what I mean? And for me, that was a moving moment. You know what I mean? That I really, really value. So, you know, again, it's just an identity conversation. And for me, like, I struggle sometimes when we do shit like, it's cultural too. Like when we have Black History Month at the schools.
For sure.
You know, there's always these signage on the walls like you come from kings and queens and da-da-da-da. And it's kind of like this skipping over the history of us to link us back to the motherland. You know what I mean? And when I look at the history of just us, just what happened from 1619 forward, we the coldest motherfuckers that walked this planet.
100%. Yeah. 100%.
Right. So I hate the minimization of all of them to jump back to, not to say we not connected to, but we bypassing a whole lot of shit that we directly connected to.
Like, whatever. I'm here all the time. I want to hear what you got to say.
I'll say that it was so interesting being there, right? So once again, we brought a bunch of young men there, and we had quite a few mentors there to kind of build with them. And when they initially got there, you can tell some of them was like, man, I don't want to, literally was saying these words, man, I don't want to be out in the sun too much, man. I got prom coming up because I don't want to get too dark. Literally.
Yeah.
And some of the things and some of the ideas that they had about Africa, they wanted to really distance themselves from. And it was, for some of them, it was like pulling teeth even in order to get them to go, even though it was fully funded, everything was taken care of, it was like pulling teeth. Shout out to Dr. Johnson, who did the legwork to get them over there, over at Malcolm X. And when I tell you, when they got there, by the time they were leaving, all of them was walking around with their garb on, talking about their plans for when they come back home, how they gonna walk around with their garb, feeling more royal, having more pride in their complexion. Even in terms of the marketplace, so when we get over there in the marketplace, they really aggressive because obviously they see we got resources.
Right.
So some of us are a little uncomfortable.
Right.
But then some of the young brothers who was raised right here on the west side got super comfortable. They start hustling them.
They with that.
They was with it.
This familiar. I know this.
No, when I tell you how one of the young brothers was just going in to the point where it was such a connection that I feel like he really grew and realized that he was much bigger than the person that he thought he was on the west side.
I fuck with it.
You know what I'm saying?
With that.
Like the idea of now and he had his features looked so similar. You know what I mean? So now the pride that you can have when you don't know your great family, when you don't know those people, then what do you have pride in? Materialism. Right? So in the absence of having a historical connection to something, then materialism wins. Then whoever has the most money trumps everything. You know what I'm saying? So I think that it could happen the same way in Mississippi as well, though. Just connect us back to something to get that journey going.
I agree 100%.
Yeah, as long as it's in the context of extension. And I know y'all not disagreeing, but I agree with both of y'all. As long as in the context of an extension of the greatness that we've already displayed here, right? There's this extension back to Africa as well. But even if we did start right here, we the coldest motherfuckers ever.
And go back over that cold.
And come back colder, because I just extended this shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Richard Pryor was talking about when he went over there, the first time he went over there, and he was mentioning the features too. And he was like, it was crazy because everybody I saw over there reminded me of somebody over here. He was like, but in a lot of cases, they was dope motherfuckers. He the leader of this, he the head of this. He's like, oh shit, he look just like Willie the Wino. Like, you know what I'm saying? Right. So like that kind of shit, man. So yeah, I think it's very, very important, man. As a little bit of a break, you mentioned prom. It's prom season right now. These kids wild and going nuts. My partner's son just went to prom, right?
Yeah.
Fly as hell. He got super fly. He was trying to tweak with his shoes. I was like, oh, don't do it. Because the suit was so cold. So when I get there, he's trying to figure out like what shoe to put on, right? After he gets dressed. And I'm like, what? So his father getting him ready and he called me like, yo, what shoe should he put on? He want to wear this fat ass McQueen shoe that the kids like. And I'm like, you cannot put that shoe on the bottom of that suit, bro. He got this sleek ass other look like loafer. I'm like, you gotta wear that one, bro. It's perfect. He's like, McQueen. I'm like, fuck no, man. So his older brother's there. He listened to them, but he
on the McQueen tip.
Yeah, he 23, 24, 25. You know what I mean? So he with him and his homeboy. So they on the same shit. We gotta convince them first to convince him. So anyway, he wore the right shoe, but their car shit was crazy. He had this fucking BMW thing, and I call it a thing because when we went to pick up the things, we couldn't even operate the motherfucking thing. Like, how do you get not in it, but then like how do you open the glove box, or how do you open the fucking armrest, or how do you start this motherfucker? Like, it was a fucking spaceship. Everything about it was completely nuts. But I realized it was somebody's entire business to do these like tour, like this is like through Turo and shit, the little app, person to person car rental shit. Somebody got a whole business. We go out to fucking Niles. It's a parking lot. full of these fucking cars, full of these fucking foreign ass cars and like exotic ass cars, and like that's all they do. And they're like, yeah, yours is in the aisle, and you gotta use this code to open it and pick it up and just bring it back and put it in one of those spaces. I'm like, it was like 30 of them. Damn. I was like, God damn. Like somebody's whole business. It was the whole thing just kind of blew me. I was like, damn, this shit wild as hell, man.
That's all I need.
To the point Algernon made though, like last year, Dalen went on prom. Right. Salute my son graduating too, but he don't give a shit about none of these activities.
Right, I'm just getting out of here. It's over with.
He don't give a fuck. He don't want prom. He want to go to luncheon. Man, I'm good.
Yeah.
But Dalen went on prom last year, and I'm out the mix. I'm out the loop.
Yeah.
But these shorties is showing up in Phantoms, bro. Right? So you talking about that materialism one, right? And it's hyper, right? And then the business of it all, right? So when you rent the Phantom, you don't drive the Phantom. Somebody drives the Phantom, right?
You gotta drive it.
This is how they did it. I think it cost $1,500 or $2,000. I don't remember. It was something outrageous to rent a Phantom.
That's wild.
You get 30 minutes for the pickup to take pictures with the Phantom. They drop you off at your prom. We're gonna be back at this time. You got 30 minutes to get back to the crib. You paid 2 bands for an hour worth of chauffeuring, bro.
See it?
You paid 2 bands to flex on the gram, sir. You're missing it.
Okay, whatever it is, you paid 2 bands for an hour.
See, this is the part that
Cherie, what up? Mac.
This is the part I have a challenge with. The fact that I'm already sick about the fact that we spending the money to do it. Got it. I would be less sick if one of us owned the company that was doing it. At minimum, at least it's keeping the money circulating within the community.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I would love for us to realize that that's a trend, and for somebody to tap into that market.
I still would be sick, even if it was one of us that owned it.
I was very motivated when I saw all the fucking lot of cars. Like, God damn, if you got that car, this hustle has to be paying for that car 20 times over every month.
20.
What's the right? Right.
20.
I just said so. The Phantom nigga, G.
Right.
You think prom night he ain't picking up 10 motherfuckers? You got 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Sure.
You understand what I'm saying?
Oh, sure.
He made 20 that night.
He trying to get as many as he can in that window from like 5 to 7 on the pick up and drop off. Like
he made 20 bands that night.
During prom season, he got a month window where he's 200, 300 bands.
Yeah, he paid a whole note on that card for that week.
Yeah. That's
It's amazing to me, G. But it's also like the reason I say I hate it is because it speaks to so many other things,
100%.
right? One, we go all out on prom like that because we don't have any other events in our lives where we're gonna have those kind of experiences.
That part. Yes, sir.
You're not getting married. Most of us not graduating college. It's all those things don't happen. Like when you show up just walking down the street in a suit. I've had shorties ask me, "You going to court?"
Right.
Because they don't even expect to see black men in suits.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It talks about really what you see is how crippled our culture really is.
Yeah.
You know, how much access we really lack.
It goes back to that conversation around identity earlier. When you don't have something, self-esteem means everything. Sometimes we talk to these kids and we act like being a high school student ain't tough. Like it wasn't tough when we was there. Being cool is everything. Being cool is everything as an adult in the sense of being accepted, being part of a community. Sure. And when you haven't identified any other way to be part of a community other than buying stuff, then that's what you're going to do. So that's where those type of trips back to Mississippi, back to a book, back to your grandmother, back to something gives you something to have pride in other than flexing with a Phantom for 20 minutes.
Yeah, it's being like truly grounded in something versus always trying to seek some validation. 100%. I'm validated because who I am. When I showed up, I was fucking validated. And once I become aware of that, I'm solid. I'm not out here searching for it here, there, and in the next place.
That's what other cultures get to benefit from, the fact that they have a long history of being connected to my great-great-great-grandmother, great-great-grandfather, who was also a businessman, who also did all these things. What do we have to have pride in if we study ourselves? What we've done since we've been here, that's enough. But we need to talk about that more as well. You know what I mean? So that sense of identity is key, wherever it comes from.
But that's part of the construct of the show too, though, right?
Yeah.
Like I think we've lost our way because we don't take accountability for our responsibility in raising the next generation.
Facts.
Right? And oftentimes like those messages come from media, right? Because we take our hands off the wheel. It comes from school, media. I argue all the time, like for me, hip hop for me was like one of the greatest teachers. Right? Because motherfuckers is talking about shit that I can't identify. I want to be a part of this culture. It is the cool. You talking about the 5%ers, and I'm in Chicago and I don't know what the fuck that is. Well, I got to go find out what that is.
Yes, sir.
Right? You talking about Marcus Garvey, and I'm 11 and I don't know what the fuck Marcus Garvey is. I got to go figure out what the fuck that is.
Mm-hmm.
So it drove you to books. It drove you to exposure. I ain't even gonna say books. It drove you to exposure.
You think Kendrick won the battle?
Kendrick won the battle, but it drove you. It drives you to these places.
Yeah, I would too.
We going there?
It drives you to expanding yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it drives you to connecting, being anchored in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? On top of, I had a family. My last name already meant something. I'm already understanding anchoring in.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you're doing it just to be cool.
Even if it's just to be cool.
I was in New York, man, and they got the Hasidic community there with we got the locks, and I was talking with my brothers. I'm like, I imagine there are things that they have pride in that we don't even care about. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's your locks, their guard, whatever it is. We need to figure out what are we gonna have pride in. And when it came to hip hop, me walking up with a conspiracy theory book, the fact that I could debate with my teachers, I had pride in that.
Yeah.
And I did it because I wanted to be cool.
Yep.
But I grew as a result of that,
But in that era, intellect was cool.
Intellect was cool.
Right?
Yeah.
Like part of being an MC, like that's why I kind of struggle with these new shorties. And I be having this conversation with Boog, and I think it's real interesting. And I say Boog, I mention Boog a lot. Boog is my cousin. Boog is a solidified,
he's a Grammy-winning producer.
Grammy-winning producer. So this ain't no, abject ass kind of opinion.
For the record, he put me in the studio. The first time I was ever in the studio, Boog put me in the studio.
That's what's up.
Salute. And Boog is a wild nigga too. With all the accolades, he's a nigga, right?
Yeah.
My brother, right?
Yeah.
But we always had this back and forth, and he has this concept. He was like, man, this new generation ain't created nothing new.
Yeah.
They still riding off our culture. They just adjusted what we've done, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a very interesting perspective, right? So when he said they just riding off our culture, they've added additives to the recipe, but they've not created their own recipe.
Yeah.
So you get a Chief Keef, and that's not to minimize a Chief Keef, but the culture of drill, it's really just our version of hip hop adjacent. It's not their own entity, right? Like before that, jazz was an entity of the culture before us. Before that, blues was an entity of the culture before them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They transform into different things, but in that argument, like there's all this pushback, and it's specific. Like I could have this conversation with my son. You eventually have it with yours,
Yeah, I do it
right?
now.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, nah, this ain't it. And they like, nigga, you just old. You don't get it, right? But it's diluting what that culture created.
Yeah.
But I also blame us, the elders of that culture.
You have to.
Right? Because in that desire to maintain cool, we've begun to accept bullshit.
Okay.
I'm
first. I'm deferred every time.
Check it out. So no. So when I got into hip hop, I thought I took it seriously. So when it said, it was one of the reasons why Algernon Alexander never sold crack, because I felt like that was detrimental to the community, right? So I felt like in order to be cool, the culture says that I have to be pro-community, I have to have knowledge of self, so on and so forth, right? So as hip hop got co-opted and certain other images became dominant, and I saw some of my peers quickly shift to whatever was being told, I was like, yo, I thought we took this thing serious. I thought we did this for the knowledge. I thought we were Pan-Africanists. I thought we were pro-black. What happened? They dropped it and moved wherever it's almost like a lobster being in the boiling pot. You know what I'm saying? I remember reading this book, just shifting back. I remember reading Animal Farm.
Yeah.
But, you know what I'm saying? Which was an amazing book, right?
It really was.
And I remember at the end of the book, it had the pigs, and they looked, and the old horse was looking at the pig, and the pig looked identical to the farmers who they were doing business with. And I remember in the beginning, it took the pigs coming in saying, we're going to call each other comrade, similar to us being pro-black or, you know what I mean, Tribe Called Quest in that type of vibe.
Right.
And they got us in that way, and then slowly start shifting. It made me think like, damn, was this all a farce from the beginning? Was this a way for us to come together and connect? I'm gonna call you comrade.
Right.
Now I can take us further than the dominant culture could have ever done. They could have never came in and said, you gonna call your sister a bitch.
No.
Initially.
No.
But now, by us starting off pro-black consciousness
It's
and then slowly shifting it, we dealing with each other worse than they ever would have called us. You know what I'm saying?
100%, man. That's a great reference to that book. Shout out to Bueller by George Orwell. Mo, appreciate you. Salute, brother. And Gabby, what up? That book, man, I remember we spent like months on the, and on the surface, it's like a simple story.
Yeah.
But to unpack that shit and be able to spend months on that shit was like, this is some different, some good shit. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I think we're doing the same thing though, going back to the, doing shit to be cool, right? On the hip hop talking about. And so you got like drill music, right? And I think the same shit that led you to research Marcus Garvey and 5%ers is the same thing that would lead a shorty to want a fucking switch or a motherfucking 30 clip. Like, it's the same thing, and they find value in that. And that's why none of these shorties is just Herb or just Two or just out. They all are motherfucking FBG Herb or fucking 051 Two. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
they anchored into their neighborhoods.
Yeah, it's clicked up.
But I think there's a unique difference though, and it still goes back into the cool conversation, and it still goes back anchored into the identity conversation, right? So even the shit when I say, hey man, this shit drove me to seeing who the fuck Kwame Ture is, right? Yeah. This is pre-1990 probably.
Yeah.
Right? So we lived through the transfer of this kind of, African medallion, this kind of Pan-Africanist kind of concept of hip-hop because there was no real money attached to it. The co-opting is when the money comes along, right? And the money is what makes it cool. And when the money makes it cool, well, then you'll tap dance for whatever level money it is. So instead of talking about a goddamn African medallion, it's like I got bricks in the trunk, right? Still my generation, right? What's the lineage of I got bricks in the trunk? I got an extender on the clip. It's still us. It's still a responsibility. Right?
Truthfully, I want to rap like Common Sense.
I made $5 million. I ain't rapping like Common Sense. That's why I say I don't fuck with Jay.
Right.
Not that Jay can't rap. Jay can rap his ass off.
Right.
Right.
You made a decision.
But you made a decision.
Right.
Right. You know better, and you didn't do better. And you've not done better since. Now you're not doing better in political realms.
Add on to that, man. Add on the concept of the ends justifying the means. To say, well, look, I ended up rich. It was okay for me to sell crack to all my people. So now, if I'm on the block, if this is my way, if I got to live my life like this, as long as I end up rich in the end,
it was all well and
wasn't
good.
It all good? And that mentality is part of the thing that's killing us.
That's poison.
I don't disagree at all, right? Yeah. Hence, back to the responsibility being ours.
Facts.
Right? And it's not like I'm pointing out the drill motherfuckers as the targeted population to say this is where the problem started.
Right.
I think the problem started is when, one, we started calling this shit a culture. It's not a culture. It's just a genre. That's all it is. And what happened was when it was birthed, we was coming out of the civil rights movement. And that was the energy on the grounds. You know what I mean? So the music that was being birthed out of that shit was wrapped in the energy of the grounds. You know what I mean? But as we as people let go of that and assimilate further and further into American white identity, because that's what we're doing.
Sure.
Right? And that was the goal post civil rights movement. Right? It is reflective in our music. Our music is a driver of our behaviors. Our behaviors are reflective of the sickness of assimilation without access to resource.
No, that's real. I think at its essence, at its purest form, hip hop was a culture. I think it's been co-opted and turned into some other shit now. But I think at its essence, it is a culture.
For me, hip hop was a culture. Like for me, the way I talk, the way I think, it informs my perspective on a lot of things. It was my gateway to Pan-Africanism. It was my gateway to being vegetarian, pescatarian. It was my gateway, but it informed my activities. I just didn't know that everybody else didn't buy into that culture. So then another culture was sold. So that's for me, that's a different culture. But to me, this culture, I still live I'm still hip hop. And I still live by the same culture that I always have. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
I think it was a derivative of what black identity should be. I think it was a derivative of what black culture should be. So when it started, it celebrated what? The elements, right? What you break down elements outside of the music, you even include in art, right? You include in a lot of different shit, right? But again, I push back with it being in culture, right? What it was mimicking what black culture was in reference to the moment in time. And as black culture assimilated further and further into white culture, because you don't own it, hence you don't define it. You go along with the tracks that's being laid for the train to follow.
So your position is black culture shows up different ways.
My
but it's
position
just
is black people don't even have a culture. Black people on the continent do not have a culture. I know there's a lot of pushback when people say that shit. Now, I think we have a counterculture to what white supremacy does to us.
What's culture? Let's have a common.
Well, when we break it down, like it's a lineage of behaviors, foods, concepts, all that shit, right? But all of ours has been in response to.
There's a concept that's like my pro-blackness is primarily reactionary. It's primarily reactionary, right? But I do think there are some things that's ingrained in us that's not reactionary. In terms of the way we spice our foods, the way we bop, the way we move, the way we can take anything and turn it into something. I think that's culture. And I think that is our culture. You know what I'm saying? And that's why it shows up wherever we go. Now, it can be transformed and taken over and flipped into something else, but I think we do have a culture.
Yeah, I agree with you. And as you were giving the definition, Billy was putting it in the comments as well. I agree that we do have a culture, and I get what you're saying, right? So even if you talk about like food, right? We know what cultural black food is, right? And shout out to Sadiq and his Food-ish series. But even those foods were a response to white supremacy, right? So this is what y'all niggas can have, and then we made raw shit with it. You know what I mean? And it becomes our cultural food. But I think that you can't have the stance of what you said earlier about even if we only start here, we dope as fuck, and say everything we've done here we can't define it because it came from as a response to them.
Let me say this too, bro. I gotta dive in here though, because there are certain things that like we don't control the tools that we have, right? So in terms of we didn't necessarily have the best parts of the meat, and we didn't have the things that we had back home, but we had an intuitive way of handling that material, which is why a lot of the foods here, you're gonna see similar versions all over the planet. And they may be spiced a little bit different, but the yams, the stews, and we're gonna take whatever resource we have here, and we're gonna bring the culture that's ingrained in us to it.
That's why you hear people say like, how much seasoning you put in there? Like, I don't know, I just shake it into the ancestors tell me to stop.
And that's I think that's culture.
Go back to the definition, because you put the exact definition in the comments right there. Right
simple. Go down a little
culture, language, traditions, foods, etc. is a culture. That's not the exact definition, but basic.
It's close enough.
Right, it's the basic.
That's what you were saying too.
So let's take hip hop. What are the language, the traditions that are relevant, that have staying power?
I think the culture of hip hop is
go ahead.
like obviously it's the music, it's the wordplay, it's the beat, but it's also the look. Like it's a look, it's a style, it's a language.
Call and response. Things that we've been doing on the continent forever. We just the tools that we're using is gonna be different. You know what I mean? So, but it's a culture in terms of the slang. The slang may consistently shift. Us taking traditional raw materials that other people will use in different ways, and us shifting it. I think that's culture.
Again, that's why I'm debating it though. If it's constantly shifting, is it culture? Are there any staples?
At its purest form, yeah, that's why I say at its purest form. Now all of these iterations and like you moving the goalposts with that shit.
Yeah, you mean
not
you. So you're saying like for example like the idea of the call and response. You know what I'm saying? Now you're saying like we may not be saying the exact same thing in 10 years.
When I say, hey, you say,
yeah, but that call and response, the dancing, you know what I'm saying? Like there may be dances that shift and change, but they often come back. A lot of the dances we do over here mimic the same dances we was doing over there.
True, I saw a video like that on IG.
Yeah, and that piece of us and that's why traveling is important. You get to see yourself in a larger context. You get to see yourself as this ain't just no little ghetto West Side dance that I'm calling a ghetto West Side dance.
Right.
This has a historical context to it.
What's a through line from the 80s to 2024 that we could say is a through line through all of hip hop? Just give me one through line.
So that's what I'm saying though, G. I'm talking about like in its purest form. So you got purest of hip hop Still today.
The metaphor, the constant use of metaphors, the simile, like that, the metaphor.
Okay, I'll give you that.
Yeah. Thank you, my brother.
Ding, 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 ding. We win.
You know what I'm saying? No, I'm saying, and we can keep going if we dig.
Yeah. I got another conversation break because I don't think I'm gonna do another show for a long time without saying this. Yeah. Anthony Edwards. That's all.
I ate a dog.
That's all. They started their second round series against Denver. Shorty, he don't give a fuck about nobody. Kevin Durant, Nikola Jokic, he doesn't give a fuck.
I fuck with that, but I don't want to lose or leave this conversation.
No, we don't have to leave. I just wanted a commercial break because Ant Edwards needs to be said every day.
Ant is reflective.
Shorty
right?
is a problem.
I think Ant is reflective, right? And I think this is why I push back on that hip hop's a culture thing too, right? I think it's also a push to separate ourselves from black identity.
Okay, so here's Webster's definition. She fucking with you now. The customs, arts, social institutions, and achievements of a particular nation, people, or other social group. So what's up? I saw 290's finest check in. What up, Nicole?
Y'all hear what I just said?
No, run it back. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm listening to you, bro. I got you.
I push back on hip hop being the culture because I think it's an attempt to separate yourselves from blackness.
I think hip hop. I think that when you it's who's controlling the narrative of hip hop. Who's the I'm saying the griots, who's the oracle, if you will, who's controlling what hip hop is. The fact that it's been co-opted is the problem.
Right.
But yeah, so I think if we say hip hop as a culture now, I think it's problematic.
So that's kind of my point, though, right? We kind of identify ourselves in our moments in times through the lens of whatever the popular music is, right? There was styles of dress associated with jazz.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
There was behavior sets associated with jazz, right? There was drug usage. The drug of the day was associated with jazz. Like weed is associated with all that shit. There's so certain through lines, but to the point you just made, when you don't fucking own it, it ain't yours.
Check it out. But this is where I agree with. I have a question. The people who consider hip hop to be a culture, have they been co-opted in that way? Like, I don't know that most of the shorties who drill, whatever, that is shifted to, I don't know that they would consider themselves hip hop and call it a culture. They just say we just doing whatever. Those who consider it a culture, I think, by and large, still operate like it's a culture.
I'm in full agreement. The analogy that was going through my head while you were saying it was and1 basketball, like not street ball like we know street ball in Chicago, but specifically the and1 shit, specifically the hot sauce shit, the Ali Mo shit. You know what I mean? That's not basketball. It's entertaining and it's fine, right? Drill music, entertaining and fine, problematic, whatever, but it's fine. I'm not in and of itself. I have no big issue with them niggas, right? Yeah. Same thing with and1. But I ain't finna say that fucking Skip was playing basketball. He had an NBA career, but the shit they was doing, rolling on the ground and all that shit, that's not fucking basketball. It's entertaining and it's fine, but I wouldn't call it the pure form of basketball. Same I wouldn't do with these different iterations after the purest form of hip hop. But that don't mean hip hop itself in its purest form in the culture. Basketball is a thing. But that just ain't it.
You would consider the NBA basketball, though, right? You would consider that the purest representation of basketball, right?
I would consider it the biggest. You know what I mean? Like, no.
You see where I'm going here?
I didn't get involved.
I get
little slippery
slope. Gets a little shaky around here.
That was a shaky.
I get what you're saying, but I didn't say NBA though. You know what I'm saying? I said basketball.
No. What I'm saying, What I'm saying is this: those who say that they are participating in hip hop, because those who still call it hip hop culture are by and large still operating under those pretenses. Everyone, I don't think that the people who you think are, I don't think they even consider themselves hip hop or hip hop culture.
What I'm trying to get to, y'all, we're going to get to this Kendrick Drake shit, right?
Yeah, let's go.
We're going to get there, right? And I think this is the argument that Kendrick is having with Drake.
Yeah.
Right? And it's not about hip hop per se.
Right.
Right? It's about black identity.
It's about black.
It's about black culture.
Who are we?
Who are we?
We got to make a stand now.
We got to make a fucking stand about who are we. right? And
Sure.
this is my whole argument. It's the argument we're having
Yeah.
right now, right? So people are asking, who won? Who's the winner? I don't think there's going to be a winner. I think those who align with this machine are going to align with Drake no matter what. This is not a minimization of Drake.
Yeah.
Drake will rap his ass off.
Nice.
But he's not anchored in us.
He doesn't have.
He's not.
His priorities are not in alignment with the same priorities that Kendrick is trying to push.
His
Right.
priorities are not in alignment with black culture, the essence of black culture.
Absolutely.
But they are very much aligned with the essence of the machine, right? What we're seeing in the iteration of hip hop as we see it today, in large part, is a identity rooted in machine politics.
I think we are using the word hip hop as synonymous with what's happening today, and I think there's a differentiation between what we call hip hop and what's happening today. And I think that's where we end up on a different. You know what
I can hear that. I can
That's
hear that.
what I think the thing
I don't
is.
align with that either, though.
Okay, cool.
I've heard that argument before.
Yeah.
But I think that's the problem. That's the flaw. That's why I say hip hop is a iteration to separate you from blackness. You can't. So that's how you justify. That's how I feel people justify that argument. The purest of hip hop. Well, this is the pure side of shit. This is a iteration. What I'm saying is all of this shit is an offshoot of blackness, and what we're seeing in those iterations
I'm not mad at that.
is the co-opting of black identity over and over and over again. We didn't see it with jazz because we weren't born in that period of time, but it's the same shit. Who's a black jazz musician today? Did motherfuckers acknowledge?
Sure, but you didn't view like hip hop, early hip hop at its purest. You viewed like the Nas's or even before him, you viewed them as getting away from blackness or like leaning into it and exposing blackness to the masses.
I don't understand. I don't know if I'm following the question.
You said hip hop is like trying to get away from your blackness. Mm-hmm. I think that at its purest form is the absolute opposite. I thought it was leaning completely, fully into that shit and telling our stories authentically and exposing that shit to the world. Like, this is how we feel. We got a story to tell. This is who we are. This is our experience.
And giving a specific way of doing it. Like, I'll say, like, the way that hip hop was done was a specific culture. I'm not saying there's not other cultures under black. I mean, blackness is. I mean, if we're saying blackness is the culture, because it's so like there's so many cultures under blackness.
Sure.
Hip hop is one iteration of it. You know what I'm saying? So we can melt it back and we can merge it back into black if we want to do that. Sure. But then we're saying that that's just one culture, blackness.
Right.
I think there's several iterations, but there are also several through lines, right? So again, you go to the South, you're gonna witness some very different shit than you're gonna witness in New York or in the Bronx. They're not the same motherfuckers, although authentically black.
Does Jamaica have a culture?
Sure.
Is Jamaican a culture? Is there Jamaican culture?
There are through lines for Jamaican culture.
For sure.
There's food. There's all that shit that you can attach to the lineage of being from Jamaica.
So there are connections. Like if we talk about black culture and black identity, there are going to be connections to Jamaican culture, Senegalese culture, Ghanaian culture, hip hop culture. There are going to be connections to all of them that are similar, and they're going to show up in similar ways. But they can be considered different cultures.
Anybody else envisioning like the train system and the lines just going and how they cross in some points? Sometimes you can get off at Jackson and you can get on both of these motherfuckers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a person like Allen Iverson would be one of those transcendent people who like clearly brought hip hop to the NBA. Like, you know what I mean? Everybody else was like, nah, we come here, we dress like, I was like, do-rags. You know what I mean? Like, chains, tats.
We gonna give all day. This is what I gotta say about that.
He doesn't. Look.
I give a fuck. I gotta say
He doesn't agree with shit.
I know it's cool.
I don't give a fuck.
But this is what I gotta say though. I gotta say
The
this.
closest way he agrees, he's saying like, I don't disagree with that. That's when he agrees. I don't disagree with that.
Because
That little part you should say.
listen, when I think about hip hop, even like the church has a culture. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That ultimately is supposed to connect us to a larger part of ourselves. You know what I'm saying? So I can use hip hop to get to blackness. I can use hip hop to get to spiritual principles, spirituality. So is this the culture? Is spiritual the culture? Is blackness the culture? Or is hip hop the mechanism, the culture that I'm using to get to the larger collective part of ourselves? You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
I'm hearing that, but we got.
What did I just tell you?
For me again. Even when I said earlier, right, like through music, through that early music, I found Marcus Garvey. Through that early music, I was in the mosque. Through that early music, right, and I also got to give some credence or some credit to just who my father was, right? You don't get the name Tucson by accident. You understand what I'm saying? Sure. So it wasn't like hip hop just blew the doors open for me. No, it just gave me some nuances that I wasn't aware to. This was the culture in my house. Like the first book I ever read was before the Mayflower. You know what I mean? Because this was the shit that was available to me in my house. You know what I mean? Message to the black man. This is the books we had. We had no white shit on my walls. You know, it just wasn't like that, right? So these messages are being reinforced through the music at the time. And there's a cool element to the music. Yeah. So now it's a reward at the end of learning this shit, other than just rocking with my own man.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But all this shit just reinforced a black identity I was already rooted in. So I surely probably did see hip hop as a culture early on. Yeah. Young, I'm ignorant, I don't understand. As I get older, I realize the flaw in the philosophy, right? All hip hop did was bring me back to or make cool what was already supposed to be, right? Now, people who wasn't rooted in what I was rooted in, this is exposing them to an idea that they think that was being birthed through the music. This idea was already existed, right? So to that point of all this shit is an extension of black culture, right? How do we distribute? It's like media, goddammit. The message exists. How you gonna distribute it? I get mad when motherfuckers like, I'm gonna make a podcast. I'm stop saying that shit from this point forward, right? Because we've invested in this shit, right? But other motherfuckers get a phone and say, I got a podcast. Right. Not knocking you, but it's not the same investment that we've made. Right. You know what I mean? And the access point is not going to be the same. You might be able to talk or whatever fuck, but you're not going to distribute the message the same way because you ain't made the same investment, right? So podcasts we blow that shit out the water and we minimize the value. This ain't a podcast, this is black media, right? So that's all music was for me. It was just a media platform to reinforce the message that was already in existence.
This is the question.
Not gonna happen.
But this is the question. I know it may not.
I'm talking about Ron.
This is the question I have for you, though, brother. It's like when there is a larger culture. You know, your father named you Tucson. There was a culture that helped to produce this culture, and in some ways, that culture would probably look at the way that you and I are dressed, and they may be like they may consider that culture to be immature in terms of how we looking and how we operate. But within our culture, we win, and we're still the intellectuals, we're still academic, and we dress very much like this. And in our culture, this is something that's perpetuated, and we still winners in that. So just because something was exposed me, it doesn't now get to this is a culture that is defining itself. You know what I'm saying? So the goal isn't to say like, well, now I'm going to merge back and I'm going to lose my identity as hip hop. I'm going to lose the things that I learned that taught me about these things. I don't lose that because this is my culture. And by clearly, this is your culture as well.
Right.
You know
we all got on the same shoe.
Yeah, we still fresh, and we older brothers. In the past, we would never look like this on in media. Right. And that could be considered appropriate or acceptable. Yeah. But in our culture, it is, regardless of what the elders would say about it. Because we are culture.
I hear that, but I struggle too, though.
I struggle too.
Because I think we got to change this shit, honestly. I think we've gotten comfortable in this shit, but I think we got to change it.
I fully disagree.
I know y'all will, right? But I say that on purpose.
I like the fact you're thinking, though, so I'm with it.
I say that on purpose, though, right?
Yeah, I'm with thinking.
Like, I argue that we perpetual children, right? I think what we've aligned ourselves with is a very childlike philosophy, right? Which is why we've not taken accountability to be the elders in our goddamn communities in the way that we should be the elders in our goddamn communities. And I'm speaking in a broad band sense, right? Sure. We all three of us for sure, take accountability in a lot of ways. Sure. But we also know how difficult it is to get our peer group to do the same shit. Sure. Yeah. Right? So to deny that it's real is just deny it.
That was happening when we was wearing suits, brother. Like, so that dynamic is gonna always exist.
Hear what I'm saying? I'm not arguing that part of it. Yeah. I'm saying in general, we become perpetual children, right? And as America and just the universe at this point expands, it creates opportunities for you to be a perpetual child. You don't have to learn as much shit because technology fills in, right? Like, I remember one of the rules I had for as a shorty getting in when I learned how to drive was my father was like, you ain't gonna never drive no car in this house until you know how to change brakes, until you know how to fix tires, until you know how to change, or like it was rules for me to be behind this wheel.
Yeah.
Right? So when I get in the car with somebody else that's, my peer or my elder, and they can't change a fucking tire, it blows my fucking mind.
Yeah.
But essentially, when you can't change a tire, it removes a skill set from you and makes you more dependent, like a fucking child. And that's just one element.
Yes.
But we've moved through the process like children. So we dress like children, we move like children, we think like children, we don't take our own responsibility like children, right? Also, part of the major system's ability to maintain power. Same thing with hip hop. Long as we control this shit, we control you. Long as you can't change a tire, you got to call me to do so, right? As long as you can't read, or as long as you only know how to talk and text, you can't. The next generation, we talking all this shit about technology and shit. Oh, the next generation, every AI job is gonna replace 100,000 jobs. So what's the next skill set? Motherfuckers sending their kids to school for tech? No, nigga, that ain't gonna be valuable. Because the code is gonna do the code for the code self. So what's gonna be important is how you communicate. You have to be able to communicate clear, thought out messages to make the code work for you. We raised the whole generation of motherfuckers who can't talk but in text and listening to mumble music.
For sure.
You are being left out.
Which is not hip hop.
That's not hip hop.
That ain't hip hop.
That is not smart. That ain't black.
That's
if we ain't been nothing, we've been the goddamn engine that created this goddamn country, right? We don't think about this concept like this because we don't control our messages, we don't control our media, we don't control our thoughts.
Yeah.
The machine does, right? So you in slavery, motherfuckers don't think about it like this. You done had 287 years of motherfuckers doing all the work. You ain't, as a hunky, you ain't learned shit.
Yeah.
You got power, but you don't know shit. So the minute this shit is over, you become dependent. Because you done raised 4 generations of motherfuckers who were perpetual children.
I like your conversation because, and I'll say that goes, it kind of connects to the conversation we were having earlier around exposure and allowing our young people and bringing them to travel, whether it's to Mississippi, whether it's to Africa, wherever it is, in order to figure out what the need is going to be. Like, what do you need to learn in order to maximize yourself? Because you can think when you over in this little silo and you're in this little bubble, you can think that you have all the skills that you need, and you're not even thinking about where are things going next. Over here, what are some of the resources that I can bring over here? You know what I mean? So I like the conversation because we have to start thinking. Really, we got to start thinking.
But for me, that's the Kendrick Drake argument, right?
Yeah.
Kendrick is saying, hey man, this ain't us. What's the fucking title of the record? You ain't like us.
Yeah.
Right? And again, that's not, he also says in one of the records, man, I like when you rapping like this. You can rap. Really, he ain't really shit no Drake in none of the lyrics.
He's
therapizing the motherfucker.
He's saying, he's saying this, as long as you are rapping, as long as you making me wave my hands, we cool. Just don't act like you defining the culture. Because then I'm gonna have a problem. Because if you start to think you can raise our children, you think your ideas can raise our women, if you think that your idea can define what gangsta is, now I got a problem with you.
But Drake don't even try to do that.
But he does.
Shit.
That's exactly what he does.
So I think what Drake tries to do is maintain his relevance with a younger demographic. I don't think he's trying to grow them to the next level at all. He's trying to figure out how can I stay with what y'all on. The nigga spit that, so you get in the fucking studio and lock yourself in there with fucking Lil Yachty. I don't want to lock myself nowhere with Lil Yachty. But if you're trying to stay here, then you will. Like, Drake already realized at this point, whoever is 40 years old and don't like me, they're never gonna like me. But how can I get the next 20-year-old to like me, and the next 20-year-old to like me, and the next 20-year-old to like me? He ain't trying to go to college. I just want to make sure I can keep getting my seat in high school. And it's okay.
I hear you, right? But this is the challenge with that for me. So, if, for example, like if I were going to define the next generation, I'm the guy who controls the platform.
Sure.
And now I'm looking at the next generation, right? If I'm gonna pluck someone up and say, because now I'm the voice of the culture, I'm not gonna pluck someone up who can't communicate. You know what I mean? No shout out, no diss to Lil Yachty or any of them out there. There are a lot more complex rappers out there. There are a lot more ideas out there.
Yeah.
But the one that I shine the light on, and I'm going to say this is the one that's official.
Right.
And I think that's what he does. You know, whether it's I'm gonna go grab, what's the little sister?
Sexy Red.
Sexy Red. I'm gonna go grab her and say, yo, and I'm gonna give her the megaphone as opposed to grabbing Rhapsody, if you will, right? So just doing that is helping to define and carve out the culture, not now, but even to the future. Because everybody wants resources. So now they thinking, well, if I want to become rich, or if I want to become successful, or if I want to become cool, Drake is already telling me what I got to do it. I got to do this, which is why more than ever you getting, you know, sisters talking that Sexy Red talk, because that now that's become the standard, and he's helped make that the standard.
I agree with that. I can see that. I guess I don't view him as trying to have this high level conversation. I don't think he's trying to do that. I don't think he's trying to say this is smart. He's like, this is what I'm on, and it just looks cool, and people gravitate towards it because it looks cool. Every time I hear fucking Kendrick Lamar rap, or every time I hear Jay Electronica rap, I have to listen to this shit 8 times. I don't know what the fuck you just said to me, right? And I have to figure this out. It's like, oh shit, that was cold as fuck.
That used to be the standard at one point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was the standard. So the question is, how do we make? We talked about how to make our progression cool, right? How do we make our progression cool? It's through, like, for me, it was. I remember when Nas first dropped his rhyme. The first time I heard It Ain't Hard to Tell, it literally had me thinking differently in terms of how I put my words together, in terms of like the things that I read, and
it grew you up. It expanded your shit.
Expanded my shit.
Versus listening to Migos or Future or Drake, like, oh, I can dumb this shit as far down as I can.
Everything is intentional though, right?
Yeah.
So when we say what Drake is doing, I don't care. I don't even care whatever Drake is doing. It's about what the industry's doing, and it has to be deliberate and intent. There has to be goals with what's happening. So I'm looking at it as beyond. Drake is just a tool for what the industry wants done, and it wants it done for a particular reason, and that's what I want to know.
In the context of what blackness is as a culture, we've intentionally been the counter argument to the American machine since we've been here. In every capacity.
Yes.
Whether it be politics, whether it be health, in every capacity.
100%.
We've been intentionally on the opposite side of whatever side y'all ass on.
Yes. Yeah, I'm with you.
Right? So that's the argument.
Zero grade reliance.
Zero grade reliance. And that's what Kendrick is speaking to. He ain't battling Drake.
Yeah.
Right? And the response that Drake gives don't fucking matter. It's the response that we give that's important.
Yes.
Yeah.
Drake is the symbol that he's going at.
That's it.
He's the symbol of what he's going at.
Right.
Yes.
But that's why hip hop is in the culture too.
Right.
And that's why I say black people don't have a culture too, because this is a continuum. This ain't start with hip hop.
Right.
This is our existence. All we're doing is responsive to white supremacy. Now, in order to obtain power and having dominion over our own goddamn outcomes, we have to stop being responsive and start being proactive, right? The Kendrick-Drake battle to me is no different than Nas-Jay, right? But the motherfuckers who align with Jay are gonna be aligned with Jay. The motherfuckers who gonna align with Nas are gonna be aligned with Nas. And that's reflective of our community, right? So we can go back first, we can go to Motown, right? Sure. Marvin said, I'm dropping what's going on. Barry said, no, the fuck you ain't, because you gonna fuck up the money. Marvin said, fuck you and the money. I'm dropping what's going on.
Right.
What's going on becomes a soundtrack to the culture of the moment. Bob Marley say, fuck your money. I'm going to do Bob Marley music. Bob Marley music still stands the test of time today because it becomes the soundtrack of the proactive version of what culture is supposed to be.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Facts. That's
I think you always need those two.
And that's hip hop.
Yeah. That's hip hop.
That's the idea of hip hop.
Right. But I think
what we got out here today, I don't know what this is.
This
is some Stephen Fetchit ass
what
shit.
Kendrick is doing is in the vein of hip hop.
It's in the vein
He's
of
trying
I
to get
agree.
it back. He's trying to get it back to the culture of hip hop.
I agree. And my biggest fear in all of this shit.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I'm talking to Boog, I'm talking to Lee. These are all record industry
In
executive
the game,
people.
yeah.
And they like, that Kendrick shit whack as fuck. And I was like, you niggas stupid and you making me mad.
Damn, they said that.
They said that.
That's gonna always be the more popular thing, it's just easier to hear what the fuck Drake is saying.
But
And
that's
so,
why we always lose.
right. So this is what I'm saying though, and I've said this to you before when we've talked about rap in general, not hip, just rap in general. I do not turn on rap music to hear like a message. I will turn on a great orator or some type of professor, whoever the fuck. I'll go listen to some other shit. Even comedy, I'll turn on for that kind of shit. I don't go to music for that.
But you are
I just don't. So I was always Jay over Nas because I don't go to music for that.
Us though, bro. And I'm saying that on purpose, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Because the music of the era was very smart and still very entertaining.
Yeah.
They're not mutually exclusive. It don't have to be one or the other, right? Dave Chappelle is one of your favorite comedians, right?
Right. That's why I say I go to comedy for that.
Hear what I'm saying, though?
I don't go to music for that.
Dave Chappelle is an anomaly. What Ajinoy just said was, you said Jay, I don't listen to Jay Electronica or whoever else.
I didn't say that. I said when I do, I have to listen to it 8 times.
Because you looking for the message. And what was his response? What was his response just a minute ago?
That was the standard. That was the
standard.
Everybody was rocking like that.
Right.
Not to say everybody wasn't entertaining. This shit was entertaining. It was so entertaining that it didn't even have no money behind it, and every fucking industry had to say, "No, we got to do this."
It was a mechanism to think.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I was having a conversation with a brother today about the Kendrick Lamar and Drake battle, and he was like, "Man, I don't even know what that what's the last one he dropped, Meet the Grams."
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, "Nah, man, the Drake joint was moving, it was bopping. What was the Meet the Grams?" And I said, "Listen, man, like, I don't know about you, but music is supposed to do different things, right? And the way I assess it is, are you executing what you're trying to do at a high level?"
Right.
Drake executed at a high level.
They're both doing that.
At a high level, his war cry to a catchy beat that you can move to. He executed at a high level. Kendrick Lamar, his was thinking music, methodical thinking music, and he executed that at a high level. I listen to music to do both. Sometimes I listen to music not to dance to, because I'm thinking, I'm in that mood, I want to be pensive. And he did that. Now, if you just not into that at all, then you ain't gonna like Kendrick. You ain't gonna like that one.
Yeah. So like, as I've gotten older, I've come to appreciate some of that a little bit more.
Yeah.
Right. I think Nipsey was great at that. Like Victory Lap, whole thing, absolute fucking bop, but an absolute fucking master's class on a lot of shit. Like he's teaching the whole entire time.
Them both.
Right. Yeah. But like just generally speaking, unless somebody can find that groove for me, that middle ground for me,
But that's how you kill a culture.
That's how you kill it.
When you remove the diversity. I never mind, and I remember listening to NW. I remember the first time I heard Dope Man, I was a shorty, and I was like, my eyes bugged out. Like, wow. Because I lived in a hood, but it was a different glimpse into a different hood that I didn't live in. And it was wild to me, right? So, but then I still remember the first time I heard Public Enemy. I was in a gas station. And then Terminator X, the music sounded so crazy. Both of them existed.
Perspective though, right? You just one, NWA was political.
Political as well.
Right? But think about how, if you put the spectrum, you assume NWA to be here.
Yeah.
And you'd assume Public Enemy to be here.
They were both counterculture.
The next album Ice Cube made with the Bomb Squad from Public Enemy.
From Public Enemy.
They were here actually.
Right.
Yeah.
They were both here.
Yeah.
It presented this way.
Yeah.
But they were both aligned in the middle.
Yeah.
Right? So to the point how you kill a culture, right? Today Martin Luther King was I Have a Dream Martin Luther King.
Right.
Off-brand word that he said that wasn't even in that motherfucking speech.
Right.
That specific speech is motherfucker give me my money.
Give me the money.
Right.
Right? 60, 70 years later, motherfuckers have minimized one of the greatest men to walk this motherfucking planet as a chump.
Like he was a sucker.
Who just wanted peace.
When he was way more radical.
Right.
Right.
That's hip-hop today.
Yes.
And Drake is the poster child for that. Jay-Z for me is the poster child for that. That doesn't minimize their skill set of putting words together.
Yeah.
But what they stand on is I have a dream and not give me my check. They do stand on give me my check, but it's in a very different way. It's give me my personal check.
Give me my check.
That's right, my check in my name.
Give me my check, and what do I got to do to get it?
And what I got to do to get it.
Like, that part.
No, I fully get that. What I'm saying, within rap, there's just a choice, right? So it's not like you can make Kendrick or you can make Jay-Elect into fucking Lil Yachty like they've done with Dr. King, right? I'm saying you have a choice. And I would, like, when I was younger, I want to hear Jeezy. I don't want to hear who was like that when Jeezy popped. I don't even know who the fuck was like that when Jeezy popped. You know what I mean? Because I wasn't listening to it.
Why they can't make Jay-Elect and Lil Yachty? They can silence Jay-Elect.
Sure, that's not what I'm saying though, bro. Like I'm talking about rewriting the story on a person.
He ain't even gonna give you he's not even gonna give you Lil Yachty content for you to focus on that and minimize everything.
Yeah, you can't rewrite his story about what he owned. You know what I'm saying? Now if he dead and gone, like Dr. King is, maybe.
I'm saying they can do a lot of things.
I don't know, dog.
100%. Hey, look, if you can make Jesus eat pork,
right. 100%.
Whatever you want to call it.
On that piece, I'm just saying. One thing I want to go back to, and I'm loving y'all's conversation. Probably like 30 minutes ago, Ron was like, 5 minutes. I was like, that's never gonna happen. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm loving y'all conversation. So I'm trying to, just kind of hang back as much as I can and just kind of, navigate it a little bit. But I do want to go back to a thing that you said about, basically about our presentation and how we show up, and it being, immature or whatever, right? And I just disagree so much because I feel like it's so important.
Nigga, I do it. So I just got it. But I just recognize the problem.
Even as somebody who does it, you can still recognize it as an issue, right? Mm-hmm. I don't think it's an issue. I think that it's necessary. I think that it's so necessary that we show up authentically in our shit. And I know, like, we can get into a deeper conversation about what makes it our shit or whatever. Like I said, we all got on fucking Nikes. Like, do we actually like Nikes, or is that just what we grew up to supposed to like? So that's a deeper conversation. But it's our shit, right? It's how we show up, how we like to be. And I think it's important for us to show up in as many spaces authentically as possible, man.
Let me add on.
So I'm only pushing back in the sense that what we doing? We're doing media. Right? And I do think that imaging and messaging dictates behavior.
Yes.
Right? I'm a member of Alpha Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, so is that,
Mm-hmm.
Right? When we first played, we had a very small populace of alphas on our campus. So we got together and we decided we're going to do certain things to create a culture, a movement, right? Little shit like we're going to show up on the yard on this day, at this time, at the same place in a suit and tie, no matter what the fuck, every time.
Yep.
What's it do? It forces those who look at us in a certain light. It creates energy. It creates an image. I fuck with that. I'll look at the unity behind that. So when I look at us and how we move through our community, and specifically our relationship to our children, there is no differentiation. There is no, you ain't different than me. I slap the shit out you. We just saw a video with viral last week of a principal or a substitute teacher beating the shit out of a kid in Vegas. Because the kid probably like, I can whoop this motherfucker. It ain't no difference. You know what I mean? It ain't
the deference.
It's no clear line of demarcation of you different than me.
Yeah.
Sure.
So let me say this though. So I remember early on in my educational career, I remember going into a school and I was teaching math, and I looked relatively young at the time, and I kind of dressed. The first time I dressed regular, boom, and then the next day I tried to adjust and I kind of dressed up. And the principal was like, "Why are you dressed like that?" And I was like, "Well, because I think that's how I see everybody else." She's like, "No, we need you here, right?" And that really stuck in my mind. Because I used to think about our brother Martin Luther King, right? He brought a specific brand of what leadership looked like. He spoke the Queen's English. He spoke perfectly all the time. He was always dressed to the nines, perfect.
Right.
And if I'm from the block and if I don't identify with that, then I think that's what leadership is, then I automatically remove myself from the table because of my inability or my unwillingness to do that. But when you have Martin Luther King, and then you have the Panthers showing up, cursing, black leather jackets on, and still being leaders, creating breakfast programs that the Chicago Public Schools eventually adopted, right? That was a Black Panther movement in terms of the free breakfast programs. We did that. And we didn't dress in suit and ties, and we didn't necessarily have to speak the Queen's English in order to lead our community. So I like the diversity of what leadership can look like. It can look like this. And our youth need to see that you can still be a leader looking like this and wearing a tie. We just need diversification.
We always
I fuck with
praise
the diversity of all of it. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But I think we like the diversity. Which is why when you see me in a
Yes.
suit in the neighborhood, it shows like you got caught. We lack it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So those of us who know better should do better. I'm not anti. I'm doing it. I got you open this goddamn cabinet, it's 4 pair of shoes that hit to look just like this. You know what I mean? If I got my choice, I'm gonna be in sweats.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But there is, back to some masculine and feminine shit, this goes back to gender for me.
Yeah.
There is a definitive role of what the masculine is supposed to be, right? And in doing that, you create barriers. There needs to be barriers, certain barriers, right? So those dynamics and in those shifts, you get different kind of responses, right? So what's the elephant study? You take the man elephant away, the young elements go wild. You drop that motherfucker back just by his sheer presence. This shit calms.
Cool the fuck out.
Cool the fuck
100%.
out, right? All of us know it too.
Yeah.
When we put a suit and tie on, just walking through the neighborhood is fucking different.
Yeah.
It's different.
So
I would assert that when you walk through the neighborhood, just like you walk through, is different as well. Just like you are right now.
also,
I wouldn't doubt it.
You know what I'm saying?
I wouldn't doubt it.
I think they recognized
there's an energy.
the
man.
energy that's there. You know, and then they want to hear what you got to say. And if you are diverse within I'm diverse within myself.
Yeah.
Sometimes I rock a suit, and when I wear one, I wear one that they would admire.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I get
You know what I'm saying? Right.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I wear what they would look up to, and then when I'm wearing my regular joints, because what I want them to see is what leadership is, and leadership is
It's you.
variation.
I just think that it's about our, again, choice. Don't tell me when to wear what. I'll tell you when I'm wear what. Now you gotta be choice. Like I put on a suit, that shit gonna be cold, and I'm gonna feel a certain way or whatever. But I also went to this invite only Bears dinner thing, right?
It's flex.
This nigga TV style.
He just
you
do a
know
little
what I'm
flex though.
Y'all stupid.
You know, just because I was.
Here's what I'm saying.
Invite only, man.
Here's what I'm
to the
saying.
McCaskey's house and shit. You know
Here's what I'm
got my shoe
saying.
shines in the parking lot.
Shut the fuck up. This is what I'm saying.
Okay,
Because
slide that in.
because it was that, right? I'm at the crib like, damn, where any other time, once I got the shower, I can be out of the house in 5 minutes. I just like what I'm putting but I'm in there stressing the fuck out, like, oh shit, it was out the bed. So I finally decide on a suit I fucking like and feel good about, and I go. I walk in and Scoop is there. Shout out to Scoop Jackson.
Scoop got on ones.
Scoop got on ones, G. Scoop got on Jordan ones and the fucking hoodie, and I'm like, God, now everybody else is dressed, right? But I'm also like Scoop. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm like, damn. Now no matter what the fuck me and Scoop had on, we were going to be probably the most impactful motherfuckers in the room. And we were. We just dressed it. I'm like, I could have been fucking comfortable. Not that I'm uncomfortable,
My theory
but I
is-
could have been authentic. I could have been, you know what I'm saying? So now,
My theory is I show up in them spaces more authentic. And I don't want to say authentic. I show up in those spaces with this on more often
Because you're
than
the
I would.
diversity in that space.
so like now, like I used to, every time you see me on TV, I would have on a suit and shit like that. Now, I go on TV like fucking this, right? It doesn't change anything about the information that I have or my ability to communicate it, right? And I want, not only do I want the shorties to see that and recognize that, I want all these fucking white people to see that and recognize that. I'm gonna show up like this. So I go to fucking Hollis Hall all the time with my fucking Jordans and my hoodies and my tattoo on my fucking neck, and I walk like this and I talk like this because the fuck I can. I can speak fucking English better than all of y'all. I am a great orator and a great speaker.
There's many versions of communication.
But I'm gonna show up like this because not only do I want shorties from over east to know that we can get into these spaces, right? But I want y'all to understand that I'm not some exceptional Negro, right? I don't want to be viewed as the exceptional one. Like, nah, I'm from 71st and Jeffrey, and people from 71st and Jeffrey are capable of this shit if they have access.
I've been arguing this your point for the whole time I've been here. Mm-hmm. What I will say is this though: how do you? There is a group of us, our youth, can now have the attitude that I don't have to make no adjustments ever.
Yeah, that's the problem.
I don't fuck with that
That's
either.
the problem.
Right?
Right.
So how do you teach that? Like, listen, there are times when you will have to make the adjustment for your own life and for the life of your community, and you need to know when you need to do it.
Yeah.
And it's not just about you saying, I'm gonna do what I want to do because I get to wear what I want to wear when I want to wear.
No.
So how do you
Man, I
navigate
had
both
this
of those
conversation
worlds?
with my
You gotta be
nephew.
appropriate too, right?
With my
Yeah.
nephew when he was probably about 12, and this some hip hop shit, cause he listening to these young stupid motherfuckers,
Yeah.
right? And he was like, man, gangsters do what they want, suckers do what they can. Niggas mimic that line. Grown men say that dumb shit, right? And I said, nah, shorty.
Them
Anybody
Squad
can do
niggas
that.
just shout that shit like it was church.
They won't.
Yeah.
That don't take no skill set, right? I said, men do what they have to.
Yeah.
Therein lies the difference. Suckers do anything they want. That's sucker shit to me, right? But how the message is sold, it sounds like some shit that, as a young, up-and-coming man, you want to align yourself with these philosophies.
I'm with you.
That's sucker shit.
I'm with you, but we have both of those statements have to be. Both of them could be irresponsible. Both of those statements could be irresponsible if they're not unpacked properly.
Yeah.
Because I would never want to tell my son a man does what he has to do without unpacking that the have to is
The proper context.
for
right.
your children, for your community, for blah 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 blah.
Right.
You know what I mean? And the same thing. So both of those conversations.
Because I do want to tell them to do what you
want.
want to do.
Yeah, they both have to be. There's value in both of the conversations.
In doing what you want to do, there are also things that you have to do. There are things that you have to do what you want to do. And I think there's just some nuance, but I get the context that you're using there, so I agree.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
We gotta start approaching the finish line on this thing here.
Yeah, this is fun though.
It really
it's
is, man.
fun.
It really is. I'm glad you came through, man. Appreciate it for real, for real.
Absolutely, man.
Man, I always enjoy you, brother.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Did y'all see Kyrie Irving put PJ Tucker in the blender?
No, I heard about it though.
Never mind that.
He's so nice with it though. He's so nice.
He is crazy now. He
How do y'all feel about this argument where they're saying that Kyrie is the most skilled player of all time?
I hate it.
I don't like that either, bro.
I hate it.
I understand it. I don't agree with it.
I hate that shit.
I hate it.
I understand it. I don't agree with it. Kyrie is one of the best ball handlers the league's ever seen.
Kyrie has a high level of control.
Yes.
I don't think that put Isaiah Thomas in this era.
Right.
I don't know
Some
that
different shit where the nigga can't push you.
Not disagreeing. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Kyrie got the ball on the string. He can also shoot it from distance. He can finish with either hand at the rim.
He nasty.
He can make contested shots. He's very creative. That game winner he hit over one, I don't can't remember who the 7-footer was, but left hand drove, like it was nasty.
You know the argument they made.
But no, I don't agree that he's the most
Kyrie
skilled
grew up playing with a rim with no backboard. Motherfucker, everybody play basketball played on them rims at least.
Nigga, we grew up playing on a fucking crate, nailed to a cylinder.
Right.
To a light pole.
You know what I'm saying?
Ooh.
It's a
He have
fucking
a backboard?
It's a square plastic crate nailed to a fucking wooden cylinder. Well, they ain't got no
Hey,
backboard
man,
neither.
That
Nigga.
story every time like, ooh. But we shoot threes
And
on the light pole.
And every shot made the fucking rim move. Like,
As crazy as he is, he could benefit from playing two dribble. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, for sure.
Play two dribble, man. Get your move off in two dribbles.
Nah, for sure. That's another level.
Yeah.
Pat Beverly went Pat Beverly because West Side niggas be West Side.
You know what? That speaks to that actually speaks to what we were talking about a minute ago in terms of like, you think you could just do what you want to do with no discipline,
Right.
and they will smack
real.
you all around.
And like
That's real.
That's 100% real.
And they will smack you around for that. He getting smacked around now.
Put it in the proper context.
Opportunities.
If you don't know Pat Beverly from Chicago, kind of walked to the beat of his own drum, whatever. Shout out to Pat. Recently, when they got put out of the playoffs, he's in his locker room. Actually, before that, before the game was even over, some dude is heckling him from the crowd. He grabs the basketball, turns around, and fires it into the crowd, misses the dude, hits a lady in the fucking face with the ball. They give the ball back to him.
He fired up
He
his
makes sure he
head.
throws it at the right target this time.
He fired up in the game.
Like, what the fuck?
What's wrong with this nigga?
You have to relax, my
Lack
nigga.
of
Like,
discipline, man.
that's every time I see Pat, I be like, you gotta fucking relax, bro. Like, I see him do some. We in White Palace, it's like 4 a.m. one day. He pull up, fucking Phantom.
And they notoriously for getting robbed in White Palace.
And a bunch of fucking other dudes, and he come in there, he just OC, and he like pull out a wad of money. It's no seats. It's packed. Like it's Friday night, Saturday night. There's nowhere to sit. So he's like, it's gonna be 45 minutes. Hell no, they're gonna be 45 minutes. I'll pay your tab to get up right now. I'll pay your tab. I'm like, I'm in the back. So he does this up and down the thing, and people are like, what the fuck? So he finally gets back to my tab. I'm like, Pat, what the fuck are you on, bro? He's like, oh, what's good, bro? We'll have to be. I'm like, you gotta calm down, G. Like, relax, my nigga.
I don't see how this is reflective of the entire conversation we've been having all day.
Yeah.
Every behavior that Pat is exhibiting is reflective of the entire conversation we've had all fucking day.
In its most toxic form, though.
The lack of discipline.
I don't even know if it's the toxic form. It is the natural form of what happens. Because all you've aligned with, like you started the conversation with, is materialism.
Yes.
This is the most natural form.
You think that makes you the most respectable thing.
This is the most natural form.
It's like, nah, bro. We all drunk and need to feed this liquor right now. Everybody want fucking pancakes, whatever the fuck they here for. Like, cool out, bro. But anyway, after the ball incident on the court, he goes to the locker room. He's doing his post-game press conference at the locker, and a very respected producer at ESPN, happens to be a woman. She asks a question, and he says, yo, you subscribe to my podcast?
Subscribe to my podcast?
And she was like, no. He's like, all right, well, you can't interview.
You can't talk to me.
Right?
Yeah.
So he goes on.
Doubles down.
He goes on to to ask questions from other people. Have you subscribed to my podcast? She's still in the media scrum, though. She still got a microphone like this. So he like, no, you got to get that microphone out of here. Right? Knocks her microphone down. Like, now your microphone can't be. Matter of fact, can you get out the circle? You're not subscribed to my podcast. Just get out the circle. Right? Now, obviously, Pat don't know her, and Pat wouldn't give a fuck anyhow. But she's very respected. And once he did that,
he's been banned from ESPN?
You can't come on ESPN no more. Right? Now, I do want to put it in its proper context. This has been a shtick that Pat's been running all season long. Right? He's doing interviews. He's meeting people. He's like, yo, you subscribe to the podcast? All right, then we can't, you know what I mean? You can't do this. Even in the fucking moment, he had on the fucking hat that says, are you subscribed to the podcast? Like, are you subscribed to the podcast and whatever the name of the podcast? He had that hat on in the moment that this is happening. But, bro, you are going too fucking far. You are wilding, my G. Cool out.
I'll say this. The fact that you said that helps him a little bit. That does help.
It's a shtick he's been running all the time, so I do want to put it in this context.
Helps.
It does. But
it helps a little bit.
Still, my G. You went over the top. You done already hit a lady in the face with the basketball. Now, you did your stick with her, cool. But then you touched her microphone, and then you told her to get out of the circle. Sir, you fucking bugging, G. You are bugging. But, you know, I love Pat. He just OC as hell, G. Yeah. He just OC as hell.
Got to read the room, man.
At some point, you got to put some brakes on this shit, G.
And if you don't teach, that speaks to what you were saying earlier, men do what they have to do. If you teach people you can do whatever you want to do, then you end up doing things like that. Mm-hmm. And then it ends up being to the detriment of your pockets, your family, so on and so forth. So it's ultimately teaching emotional intelligence and critical thinking.
That's right.
Which we don't do enough of.
Mimi said, I told y'all to start doing that.
That's a masculine
responsibility. What do we start doing that? Everywhere we go.
Yes.
You subscribe to the podcast? Don't speak to me.
That's a masculine responsibility, right?
You're not
Everybody
doing that.
subscribe to the podcast.
Right. That's what we're going to start doing every time.
And I know we're getting out of here, but I think our alignment specifically as black men to materialism is because we don't fully feel masculine.
Man, I love this. I was having this conversation earlier and with my neighbor. My neighbor's white, right? And we would have, good conversation. And
Hey, shout out to your neighbor, though, because I made a lot of money off your neighbor. I'll tell you later.
Okay. I want to hear it. And I was just walking him through the concept of, like, those who don't have, because we need self-esteem, we buy things we want to show. You know what I'm saying? And I was explaining to him like that, within our community, that is a thing. Mm-hmm. And he was, kind of talking about that, his is different and he may not do that. I'm like, well, you got on a polo jacket right now, brother. You know what I'm saying? You don't understand that's a flex. I can walk my dog in this. You know what I mean? So there's so many things that we do, man.
That kind of shit.
For self-esteem purposes.
Yeah. No, that's real. Watch on Hulu a documentary called The Contestant. It's the wildest shit.
I tried to get into it last night. I couldn't take it.
I tried to watch it again last night too, and I ended up falling asleep. But it's wild.
Yeah.
It's called The Contestant. It's about this Asian reality show, and it's just an experiment on human control and human behavior, and aspirational shit. It's like what you said earlier was, okay, here go the money, and what will you do to get it? This was some extreme shit, dog. Extreme shit. It's a little out there. So if you can't get through it, cool. But if you can, you're gonna be like, what the fuck?
Qualifying question though. You said that's some extreme shit. My argument about the popularity of drill is not that it's the music itself.
Yeah.
It's the storytelling behind it, right? It's the reality of the stories behind
Yes.
it.
And what's now becoming our entertainment.
What's becoming our entertainment.
Like,
so you was like, that shit is radical. Wow. I'd argue that 75 to 80% of the drill shorties is selling real life stories. And they're going out to create the stories to create the music behind it. I think that's wilder than the shit the dude was doing.
I agree. That's on my man on the front end. On the front end of me going to drill some shit, I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna be able to make a fucking
wait
song
till
about
I make
it.
this record.
Or interview about it.
Lil JoJo is a direct response to that philosophy.
Yep.
I saw you win with it immediately.
Yes.
Let me go create the energy that's gonna allow me to win with it too.
Now I'm BDK and I'm also dead.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, like, so if you and I are about to do business
Right.
and we in negotiations,
Right.
and in order to get your services, I have to pay you a very huge, large sum in order to get your services. Do you think that I benefit from broadcasting how much I had to pay you to get the service that I'm trying to get from you? Do I
No.
benefit from? I don't,
No.
right? So if I'm talking about I'm signing you and you just got paid this much money,
Right.
why am I doing it?
Right. To
It's a signal.
Yeah.
This is what we're looking for.
Go create the story.
to encourage
This
the next
is what
one.
we're
Yeah.
looking for. You know what I'm saying? And we will look, the whole No Diddy and the whole Meek Mill.
Yeah.
I was having a conversation with my son recently, and I was just having a conversation with him. I was like, listen, there's certain things worth dying for. And I said, there's going to become a time in your life where somebody may be trying to take something from you that they can't. And they're going to try to give you money to give you, to offer you in order to exchange for something that they can't. I said, your manhood, your identity, who you are, should never be able to be exchanged for money. Somebody may say, hey, here's something, sit on my lap.
Right.
We need to start having these, hey, take this job, do this.
Diddy argument.
We need to know in advance, we need to start having these conversations in advance, telling our young people that what they're looking to exchange cannot be taken.
It's too expensive.
It's too expensive. Your manhood, your womanhood is too expensive. There's no number that you should be willing to die for that, if you will. You know what I'm saying?
The cost of what you asking me
Yes,
that's too much.
It's too much.
Like, and I get what you're trying to give me back, but
my
it's
manhood
just
ain't
too
for
much.
sale. My womanhood ain't for sale. Community ain't
for sale.
It's too
You
much.
can't buy it, because if you do,
It's the same
So-
shit. Same shit. Like that's what AI was on when he came in the league. It's too much. The shit. Could AI have bought a fucking suit? Sure, but it's too much. It's too
but
expensive.
if I do this,
I'm not doing it.
what's the next move? What's the next play?
It's too expensive.
What you want to do next?
Not fucking doing it. Hey man, we have to do this again, my brother. You got to
Let's do
come
it,
back
man.
soon, man.
I love it, man.
Thank you so much for taking the time. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Y'all were amazing as always. Appreciate y'all. Please make sure if you have not that you hit the like button. That helps us out tremendously. So please hop out the chat for a second, hit the thumbs up. You can hop right back in the chat. We're finna get out of here anyway. But thank y'all so very, very much. As always, y'all's input was valued and extremely, extremely appreciated. If you want to be kept up with, brother, tell the people where they can find you before we get up out of here.
Absolutely. My name's Algenoy Alexander on all social media platforms. ALGENOY Alexander. You go to algenoyalexander.com. I'm a speaker, trainer. I'm all in the school. So whether you're in the suburbs, CPS school, if you're looking for high-level conversations with your staff, with your students, let's build. I'm excited. Let's go.
There it is, man. Huge shout out to P, shout out to Ryan. This show went probably 40 minutes longer than they would have ever wanted it to go. But it was a dope conversation, man. Appreciate y'all for doing all of the hard work behind the scenes as usual. Huge shout out to E4O. Love you, always miss you on Mondays. That brother's name is Toussaint. My name is Herb. Y'all be good to each other. Peace.
Salam alaikum.
It's just fun, man.
Yeah, man.
it's fun.
Yeah, man.